Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I've got some exciting Deerman encounters to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, though, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page a while back to help raise some money for urban exploration, cryptid hunting, and ghost hunting videos that I'm going to be starting very soon. That link is also in the description. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Q Centerfire Rifles. There's no firearm I'd rather have in the woods than a honey badger or a fix. I mean, come on, guys. A honey badger's a fearless animal that I'm guessing would step up to a deer man, dog man, Sasquatch in real life. So, who's to say a 300 blackout round coming out of a honey badger isn't going to stop one? That link will be in the description below. Give those guys a look-see. You might like what you see. And with that, guys, enough jibber-jabber. Let's get on with these Deerman encounters. Shall we? Today's first Deerman encounter. If you're not familiar with Highway 609, it runs for 26 miles. It runs right under the village of Roslyn. It's mainly used by truckers transporting their harvest or those traveling through the countryside. It's honestly a very lonely road nestled between farmers' fields with crops stretching as far as the eye can see. Speckled through the landscape, you can see old farmhouses occupied by hard-working families, though there are some that are nothing but empty shells. This sighting of the Deerman took place in the spring of 1987. During the beginning of the week of June, the weather was warm and smelled like new life was in blossom from the fields where the wheat was growing. An old man by the name of J. Roberts, who drove semi for a company located outside of Edmonton. J. Roberts was transporting his cargo after a long haul through most of the province, and in a distance he reported seeing someone or something dart across the highway. Quickly, he slammed on his brakes in an attempt not to hurt whatever it was. While the truck slowed to a halt, he investigated the area and found that he was alone. At first, he thought maybe his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as the dust settled and he calmed down, he turned to his right and saw what could only be described as a man from the stomach down. The rest, he said, was a mishmash of human qualities crossed with a deer. He described the head as looking almost exactly like a buck's. He went on to describe its eyes as being almost lifeless, like that of a doll's eyes or those of a great white. He felt a sickening feeling wash over him as if he wasn't supposed to see or identify the creature. He recalled that quickly he drove off, not wanting anything else to do with it. Since this encounter, he's always kept an eye out for it, and so he began documenting his experiences with it, though that was the first and only time he had laid witness to the Deerman. Just what is this mix of human and animal, and where did it come from? Is it from this earth? It's not just an isolated incident. From Bigfoot to the Loch Ness Monster, and even to the Mothman, we are hearing reports of creatures that the evolutionary books tell us shouldn't exist. This is a new era of mutant creatures coming out of the woodwork. Perhaps all the GMOs and chemicals we use and flush into the environment, once we're done with them, helped give a hand to their existence. It wouldn't be the first time, to be honest with you, and if you don't believe me, look up the squid of Plant 9. Maybe it's the effect of our interference with nature. If so, If that's the case, then there are more. When there's one, there's usually a group of them to breed. Today's second Deerman encounter. Rossland is a small community located in central Alberta, and it's home to the mysterious Deerman. Every province or state, depending on where you are in the world, have many rural roads that will take you from point A to point B, but sometimes these roads will take you down a dark path of utter insanity. Many videos and articles and even podcasts discuss the oddities that are found once traveling down these roads and that lead you into the depths of a less likely traveled path. Stories of interbred hillbillies come to the minds of many, or those who believe they've seen Bigfoot while traveling down old logging roads. The same can be said by El Chupacabra while wandering the dead roads of the southern United States. These once-traveled roads are slowly being swallowed back up by Mother Nature, and the once fearful wildlife who avoided these trails, not wanting to be near us humans. This sighting that happened October 28th of 1987. The air was crisp as winter was right around the corner. The Halloween decorations were up, and some of the kids in the area thought it'd be great if they went wandering through the empty fields. They walked around many of the areas and crossed many of the uninhabited roads. Due to the time of day, they were crossing them. Even today, these roads that dart across the landscape are pretty tame at night. Sure, you'll see an odd semi or a farmer drive about the area, or maybe even an odd cop. But at this time of the year and at night, everything was dead quiet. It was said that they decided to carry on while they were bored and looking to pass time. That's when one revealed they stole some cigarettes from their parents. As they stood in the harvested field, they were all quiet and lit up their smoke. That's when the silence was broken by the sound of someone running in the distance. Thinking it was a farmer whose field they had been trespassing on, quickly put out the light and stood silent, hoping not to be discovered. Though afterward they would have wanted it to be that farmer. It sounded as if they saw them in the pitch-black darkness and changed direction, heading towards them, and ran right past them and quickly cut across Range Road 174. Just as it did, a farmer driving an old late 70s Ford pickup had to swerve to miss colliding with the Deerman. For the split second, they saw the outline of a Deerman running through the darkness, heading towards God only knows what location. Those who have witnessed the events in this article that might still remember to this day, though those teens have long since left that town the second they graduated. Today's third Deerman encounter. The Rossland Campground rests in a large open field for those who wish to rough it like they did while traveling on the countryside. Now this is important as the place is littered with barrels used for trash cans and free firewood piles. On the day of August 10th, 1997, a sighting of the Deerman was reported to the RCMP, and it was rejected as they thought the caller was pulling a fast one on them. This, of course, was far from the truth. A visitor who was just passing by decided she'd spend the night. As the night grew darker and the moon slowly rose, she was alone with her 1986 Chrysler K-car and a one-person pop-up tent. Her name has been withheld out of fear that she would be ridiculed for what she saw, which is understandable. Like those who have witnessed Bigfoot and other said creatures of the unknown. She said it was around 4 a.m. when she heard the sound of footsteps walking towards her. They weren't what you'd expect from a person. They were almost silent except for the sound of leaves being crushed under its feet. She thought it could have been a dog, but something just didn't feel right. For a moment, she thought it could have been a deer or perhaps another animal and wanted to take a photo of said animal. Once she unzipped the flap and reached for her camera, she was greeted by a mysterious Deerman. It stood perfectly still like a statue and looked down over her with what she described as dead-like eyes, almost what you find out of a doll or perhaps a taxidermied deer. Before she could snap a photo, it ran into the darkness of the night, leaving another soul to witness its freakish existence. Since then, groups of people have been trying to spot a glimpse of the Deerman to prevail, though some have said they've spotted it while driving down North Ave Railway, though these claims have been made without photographic proof. We need to keep an open mind and make sure all the sightings are investigated and proven as fact or disprove as either a mistake or someone just looking for fame. The mysterious Deerman is one that needs to be solved, with the increasing evidence of said cryptic beings, like a Bigfoot spraying up everywhere, other creatures that lurk in the unknown soon, too, will be brought into the light of the masses. Today's fourth and final Deerman encounter. The grain mills of Consort are just like any other picturesque place in central Alberta, a reminder of what the prairies were all about. Strange sightings and agriculture, with the world changing with every passing minute. Some feel that we should look both ways before crossing the street. Look to the future and the past. As we move forward, we tend to forget a part of the past. In this case, it's those creatures we don't give a second thought to. This account took place last summer and in the village of Consort near a grain elevator. A sighting that would leave one woman completely confused and not knowing what lurks within the darkness. As she was walking her dog like she has done before, she decides to walk past the grain elevator, thinking it would be a nice change of pace. Well, she was wrong, and as she walked past that dimly lit old spotlight that hasn't been changed since the Great Depression, she went on saying about how her dog started to act up and yanked itself free and ran into the darkness. Now, after what? Many believe it could have been a vast variety of things. Some believe it to be the Deerman. Why? It's been reported that the Deerman does crave the flesh of small animals, as it was reported previously. Though it was reported that the sound of the Deerman had been heard, including odd sounds of a deep-voiced creature attempting to communicate with her. Though this could also be a misunderstanding on the witness' behalf. Before anything else could happen, she scooped up her dog and ran through the night until she reached the porch of a neighbor's house. Banging on the door in panic, she was greeted by a half-asleep neighbor who reported that she was on the verge of a full-blown panic attack. Gripping her dog tight, he let her in, and before she could do anything, she collapsed. She awoke on the couch and couldn't believe what had happened. So her and a few of her friends decided to go back in hopes of finding any trace of the unknown beast, and to no avail. On that night, she came close to being another statistic of vanishing without a trace, just like many who disappear in rural communities. Was it the Deerman of central Alberta? We may never know. 4 more terrifying yet intriguing encounters of the Alberta Deerman. Very, very interesting. The writer who wrote these, I like the statement that maybe this creature was created by the GMOs and chemicals that we use. And I do urge you guys to check out the Squid of Plant 9. It's definitely an interesting little read. There are some videos about it as well. Anyway, guys, I've got some Dogman encounters coming up. I also am right now working on a cryptid encounter video from subscribers. And literally Dogman, Deerman, stick figure, and alien. So Bigfoot as well. So look forward to that too, guys. That'll be coming up this week. And with that, I bid you farewell.